passing us by and everybody's doing other things and we still like we're just at a standstill. I'm gonna tell you now, one of the worst weapons that we can use against ourselves and others is the comparison. And then the last one I want to mention on today that your frustration can be rooted in is when you are experiencing a spiritual misalignment. A spiritual misalignment. And that sometimes can be easily swept under the rug because we continue to use the phrases is not denied, it's delayed. But sometimes God is denying what we're saying. Like, no, that's not for you. Sometimes we're feeling it because we want to continue to press in our way and our will versus surrendering to the will of God. It is important that we choose Yahweh over our own way. What God allows will often confront what you assume. Jesus. What God allows will often confront what you assume. This was so profound to me because God will allow things to happen, doors to open, doors to close, relationships to separate, connections to be created, and it will confront. Confront indicates that there is a conflict, right? So God will allow things to happen to purposefully go against what we assume should happen or what we think it should look like because God is just that good. Now, I'm going to still allow things to happen. It may not happen the way you thought it was going to happen, look the way you thought it was going to look, or come in the package that you was expecting. But God allows things to happen to confront our assumptions. And if you're honest, some of your deepest frustrations come from places where your will and God's will are in conflict. There's a tension. And it's important to understand that in order for that to alleviate, right, we're going to have to surrender to the will of God and understand that his plan for us is greater than what we can even imagine for ourselves. The word of God says that he can do exceedingly and abundantly above all we can ask or think. You can't even think big enough for God. Surrender your will to him, and let's see if some of that frustration begins to lessen and decrease in that space. Jesus, and now this is what leads to why it's so important to name the root, because all of those that I mentioned, all of those reasons, or all of those roots, or all of those things that your frustration can be rooted in, are all different, and they all require a different approach, a different strategy, a different remedy. That's why it's important to be able to name the root. You have to be able to name it so that you can heal it. Because the same way I approach internal insecurity is not the same way I would approach spiritual misalignment.